Well, Secretary General of the African Continental Free Trade Area has been making the same point about disparities in economic conditions in many countries across the continent, posing a significant challenge to the vision of the AU to grow into a full economic union. In an interview with my colleague Blaise Suga at a recent After Business Forum in South Africa, he also indicated it would take time for Africa as a continent to adopt a single currency regime.
Going as far back as the establishment of the Organization of African Unity, there's a very clear decision that Africa must have a common currency. However, getting there is difficult because you have to have macroeconomic convergence. We know from the experience of Europe, Greece, Portugal, when they were experiencing sovereign debt crisis, when they were not able to exercise monetary policy because it is centralized. So you have to get to that point where everybody, all countries in Africa are on the same macroeconomic policy stance, convergence criteria on, for example, on GDP to debt ratio, on government deficit to GDP ratio. Those things have to be completely aligned. And if they are not, it's impossible to have a common currency. So that's the work that has to be done.
Executive Director of the Africa Center for International Trade and Development, Isaac Hubert Arthur, joins us on Zoom. He was in South Africa himself for the After Business Forum. Good afternoon to you. Great to see you. So what would you describe as the state of the Continental Free Trade Agreement right now?
Thank you very much, Daryl, and then also good afternoon to all your viewers and listeners. The AfCFTA, it's moving forward. I mean, with implementation, as you know, you are aware. You realize that the guided trade initiative was launched somewhere last year, just to kickstart the commercially meaningful trading under the AfCFTA. And since then we have recorded some trade under the GTI initiative, and I think it's doing well. A lot of countries, the 8 piloted countries, have actually started trading. Ghana, has recorded some level of trade, with other member states, and it's doing well. I think it was good that it was piloted, so that we can have more experience and then also learn from some of the challenges that that will be encountered. And because of that, because of the success of the guided trade initiative, there's going to be an expansion of the GTI, where more countries, about 16 more countries are going to be added to the GTI, so that at least by and large we are gradually getting to a stage where all the 54 countries that have signed, and then even the 47 countries that have ratified, will begin to actually commence commercially meaningful trade. Not so that it will not just be by talk, but also by action. So okay. I think so far, if you look at the nature of goods that are even traded under the GTI, that is also giving us hope. Where you see batteries, and certain African-made things that you would have easily sourced from Asia, are now being traded under the AfCFTA. That tells us that there's hope in the AfCFTA, and there's the need for member states to really begin to put their things together. It's all about the domestication.
Yeah. Listening to the WTO boss and the Secretary General of the AfTA, you get the sense they wish things would have moved on faster than where we are right now. What do you consider the biggest hurdle?
Yeah, I mean, obviously, I agree with some of the issues highlighted by the Secretary General. You know, to have a whole continent like Africa, which is, and the AfCFTA is the biggest or is the largest free trade area, apart from the WTO, which really focuses on, of course, the global trade. The AfCFTA by membership is the largest. And if you look at the structure of our economies, it's not so easy to really kickstart and really move fast in terms of implementation of the free trade area, because there are issues with levels of development. There are monetary issues where different countries, different regions are spending different currencies and all of that. Customs harmonization that needs to take place. It's quite heavy. Okay, and if you look at how it's being planned, phase one is already done, phase two almost done, because now intellectual property, competition, policy, and then also investment protocols all have now been adopted and are undergoing through domestication, processes, so that they'll start to implement these protocols. That, if you look at it carefully, you realize that this is not something that it's very easy to implement bilateral trade of free trade. If let's say Ghana, UK, or the EPAS. But even the EPAS, look at the challenges we had. How much more a continental free trade area? And looking at our differences and the levels of development, it's something that it surely will take time. All of us expected from the beginning that, AfCFTA, once, the trading has kickstarted, things are just going to move fast. But my brother, it is not like that.
So in the meantime, while we wait to figure out a common currency, what can be done to accelerate its implementation?
Yeah, so thankfully we have a President Bank that has, supported the AfCFTA by introducing the PAPS,
the
Pan-African Payment, settlement system, which I think it's a very good initiative. If you go to the COMESA region, they've started, implementing the PAPS, where a lot of transactions are taking place. In ECOWAS too, there have been a number of countries and even banks. Ghana here, there have been banks that have rolled on to the PAPS system, which is helping to ease the stress of always converting currencies into dollar before you can probably make payments, across the border. So I think the PAPS is one good mechanism that is helping us be able to still at least have commercially meaningful trade under the AfCFTA.
Okay.
The same way we also have, the adjustment facility that also was introduced, which is also supporting, the states or the countries that are going to be affected by this AfCFTA to build their capacity and to help them to be able to successfully also trade under the AfCFTA.
Okay.
So there are a lot of capacity building initiatives ongoing, which are all supporting member states to be able to, first of all, negotiate and then also implement the AfCFTA.
I just have 30 seconds with you, and I just want your quick thoughts on the visit of the WTO boss, Ngozi Okonjo-Iweala, to Ghana, how significant it is, especially when the WTO is being criticized for its unfair treatment to developing countries, ignoring the needs of developing countries.
Yeah, for me, that's a good step in the right direction. It's a good signal. First of all, she's Nigerian. She's the first woman to sit on the WTO topmost chair. So for me, I think having her come to Ghana speaks a lot. Ghana is also hosting the AfCFTA. Ghana has become the center of attraction when it comes to trade in Africa. So there's a lot of concentration. So to have the WTO board.
All right, we've got to go, Hubert. Thank you so much for your time. We'll keep that conversation running. I'm sure we'll talk about it another time.